Determining the appropriate receptacle type for general areas within a psychiatric ward in a hospital requires careful consideration of safety, particularly concerning potential harm to patients. While hospital-grade receptacles are currently in use, there's been discussion regarding upgrading to ground fault circuit interrupter receptacles or circuits and utilizing tamper-resistant receptacles. A National Electrical Code, or NEC, provides specific guidance on receptacle requirements, which are crucial for ensuring electrical safety in healthcare facilities. Let's clarify these requirements based on the NEC. Firstly, it's important to consult NEC Section 406.23b, which addresses tamper-resistant receptacles. These receptacles are designed to prevent children from inserting objects into the slots, and the NEC mandates their use in specific locations. Secondly, NEC Section 406.8 stipulates the requirements for ground fault circuit interrupter protection in patient care areas of hospitals. A ground fault circuit interrupter is a device that protects people from electrical shock by monitoring the current flowing in a circuit. If it detects a difference in current between the outgoing and return conductors, indicating a leakage of current to ground, it quickly interrupts the power supply. In patient care areas, the risk of electrical shock is elevated due to the presence of medical equipment, wet locations, and potentially compromised patient conditions. Therefore, the NEC mandates ground fault circuit interrupter protection to mitigate this risk. Tamper-resistant receptacles and ground fault circuit interrupter protection serve distinct but complementary roles in enhancing electrical safety. Tamper-resistant receptacles prevent the insertion of foreign objects, reducing the risk of electrical shock and other hazards, while ground fault circuit interrupters protect against ground faults, which can also lead to electrical shock. When selecting receptacles for a psychiatric ward, both factors must be considered. While the specific requirements may vary based on the area's intended use, consulting the NEC and local regulations is crucial to ensure compliance and patient safety. Remember to review the latest edition of the NEC, as codes and standards are subject to change. Additionally, consult with qualified electrical engineers and inspectors to ensure that the chosen receptacle types meet all applicable requirements and provide adequate protection for patients and staff. Let's delve a bit deeper into the specifics of NEC Section 406.23b regarding tamper-resistant receptacles. This section outlines the requirements for these devices in dwelling units and other specific locations. While it doesn't explicitly mention psychiatric wards, the underlying principle of preventing access to energized parts is relevant. Tamper-resistant receptacles have internal shutters that prevent the insertion of objects unless both prongs of a plug are inserted simultaneously. This design makes it difficult for children or others to insert small objects into the slots, reducing the risk of electrical shock. In a psychiatric ward setting, this feature can help prevent patients from inserting objects into the receptacles, potentially causing harm to themselves or others. Now, let's turn our attention to NEC Section 406.8 and the requirements for ground fault circuit interrupter protection in patient care areas. This section mandates ground fault circuit interrupter protection for receptacles located within the patient care vicinity. The patient care vicinity is defined as the space within a patient room that is likely to come in contact with the patient or other persons. This area typically extends 6 feet beyond the bed and 7.5 feet above the floor. Ground fault circuit interrupter protection can be provided either by using ground fault circuit interrupter receptacles or by installing ground fault circuit interrupter circuit breakers that protect the entire circuit. Ground fault circuit interrupters are designed to trip when they detect a ground fault, which is an unintentional electrical path between a live conductor and ground. This can occur when a person comes into contact with a live wire and provides a path for current to flow to ground. Ground fault circuit interrupters are very sensitive and can trip with as little as 5 milliamps of current leakage, providing a high level of protection against electrical shock. In the context of a psychiatric ward, ground fault circuit interrupter protection is essential to minimize the risk of electrical shock to patients and staff. Given the potential for patients to tamper with electrical equipment or come into contact with exposed wiring, ground fault circuit interrupter protection provides an added layer of safety. It's important to note that the NEC also includes requirements for hospital-grade receptacles, which are designed to withstand the rigors of a healthcare environment. These receptacles have a stronger grip on plugs, reducing the likelihood of accidental disconnection. While hospital-grade receptacles offer enhanced durability, they do not provide the same level of protection against electrical shock as ground fault circuit interrupters. Therefore, it's generally recommended to use both hospital-grade receptacles and ground fault circuit interrupter protection in patient care areas. In summary, when selecting receptacles for a psychiatric ward, it's essential to consider both tamper resistance and ground fault circuit interrupter protection. Tamper-resistant receptacles can help prevent patients from inserting objects into the slots, while ground fault circuit interrupters can protect against electrical shock in the event of a ground fault. By combining these safety features with hospital-grade receptacles, you can create a safe and reliable electrical environment for patients and staff. Remember to consult the latest edition of the NEC and local regulations, and work with qualified electrical professionals to ensure compliance and optimal safety. Let's further examine the practical implications of implementing these safety measures in a psychiatric ward. Consider the specific needs and potential risks associated with this type of environment. Patients in psychiatric wards may experience a range of cognitive and emotional states which can influence their behavior and decision-making. Some patients may be impulsive, agitated, or confused, making them more likely to tamper with electrical equipment or engage in unsafe behaviors. Therefore, it's crucial to select receptacle types that are not only code compliant but also resistant to tampering and misuse. Tamper-resistant receptacles with internal shutters provide a physical barrier that prevents the insertion of objects, reducing the risk of electrical shock and other hazards. Additionally, consider using receptacle covers or enclosures that can further deter tampering. These covers can be transparent, allowing staff to visually inspect the receptacles while preventing patients from accessing them directly. Ground fault circuit interrupter protection is particularly important in areas where patients may be exposed to moisture or have limited mobility. For example, bathrooms, shower rooms, and areas where medical equipment is used should always be equipped with ground fault circuit interrupter protection. In addition to receptacles, it's also important to consider the wiring and electrical panels in the psychiatric ward. All wiring should be properly insulated and protected from damage. Electrical panels should be locked and accessible only to authorized personnel. Regular inspections should be conducted to identify and address any potential hazards, such as damaged wiring, loose connections, or overloaded circuits. Furthermore, staff training is essential to ensure that they are aware of the electrical safety protocols and can respond appropriately in the event of an emergency. Staff should be trained to recognize the signs of electrical hazards, such as sparking, smoking, or unusual odors. They should also know how to safely shut off power to an affected area and how to report electrical problems to the appropriate personnel. By implementing these practical measures, healthcare facilities can create a safer electrical environment for patients and staff in psychiatric wards. It's important to remember that electrical safety is an ongoing process that requires vigilance and attention to detail. Regular inspections, maintenance, and staff training are essential to prevent electrical accidents and ensure the well-being of everyone in the facility. To reiterate the key points, firstly, consult NEC Section 406.23b for guidance on tamper-resistant receptacles and consider their use in psychiatric wards to prevent patients from inserting objects into the slots. Secondly, adhere to NEC Section 406.8a, which mandates ground fault circuit interrupter protection in patient care areas of hospitals, including psychiatric wards, to minimize the risk of electrical shock. Thirdly, use hospital-grade receptacles for enhanced durability in a secure plug connection. Fourthly, consider additional safety measures such as receptacle covers or enclosures to further deter tampering. Fifthly, ensure that all wiring and electrical panels are properly installed, protected, and regularly inspected. Sixthly, provide comprehensive staff training on electrical safety protocols and emergency procedures. Seventhly, consult with qualified electrical engineers and inspectors to ensure compliance with all applicable codes and regulations. Eighthly, remember that electrical safety is an ongoing process that requires continuous vigilance and attention to detail. Ninthly, prioritize patient safety and well-being by implementing the appropriate electrical safety measures in psychiatric wards. Tenthly, stay informed about the latest updates and revisions to the NEC and other relevant standards to ensure that your facility remains compliant and up to date. In conclusion, selecting the appropriate receptacle type for a psychiatric ward requires a comprehensive approach that considers both tamper resistance and ground fault circuit interrupter protection. By adhering to the NEC guidelines, implementing practical safety measures, and providing thorough staff training, healthcare facilities can create a safer electrical environment for patients and staff, promoting their well-being and minimizing the risk of electrical accidents. Remember to always prioritize safety and consult with qualified professionals to ensure that your electrical systems meet the highest standards of performance and reliability. Let's consider some specific scenarios that might arise in a psychiatric ward and how the recommended receptacle types would address them. Scenario 1. A patient experiencing a psychotic episode attempts to insert a metal object into a receptacle. The tamper-resistant receptacle's internal shutters prevent the object from making contact with the energized parts, reducing the risk of electrical shock. Scenario 2. A patient accidentally spills water near a receptacle. The ground fault circuit interrupter detects the leakage of current to ground and immediately trips, interrupting the power supply and preventing electrical shock. Scenario 3. A patient intentionally damages a receptacle, exposing the wiring. Regular inspections identify the damage, and the receptacle is promptly replaced to prevent further hazards. Scenario 4. A staff member is using a medical device that malfunctions, causing a ground fault. The ground fault circuit interrupter trips, protecting the staff member and the patient from electrical shock. Scenario 5. A patient attempts to disconnect a plug from a receptacle. The hospital-grade receptacle's strong grip on the plug prevents accidental disconnection, ensuring a continuous power supply to critical medical equipment. These scenarios illustrate the importance of implementing a multifaceted approach to electrical safety in psychiatric wards. Tamper-resistant receptacles, ground fault circuit interrupter protection, hospital-grade receptacles, regular inspections, and staff training all work together to create a safer environment for patients and staff. It's also important to consider the psychological impact of the electrical environment on patients in psychiatric wards. A safe and well-maintained electrical system can contribute to a sense of security and well-being, while a poorly maintained system can create anxiety and fear. Therefore, it's essential to prioritize not only the technical aspects of electrical safety, but also the human factors that can influence patient outcomes. By creating a healing and supportive environment, healthcare facilities can help patients recover and regain their independence. In addition to the technical and psychological aspects of electrical safety, it's also important to consider the economic implications. Implementing the recommended receptacle types and safety measures may require an initial investment, but it can also save money in the long run by preventing electrical accidents, reducing liability, and improving patient outcomes. Furthermore, a well-maintained electrical system can improve energy efficiency, reducing utility costs and contributing to a more sustainable environment. Therefore, investing in electrical safety is not only a moral imperative but also a sound economic decision. In conclusion, the selection of receptacle types for psychiatric wards requires a comprehensive approach that considers technical, psychological, and economic factors. By adhering to the NEC guidelines, implementing practical safety measures, providing thorough staff training, and prioritizing patient well-being, healthcare facilities can create a safer, more supportive, and more cost-effective electrical environment for patients and staff. Remember to always stay informed about the latest updates and revisions to the NEC and other relevant standards, and consult with qualified professionals to ensure that your electrical systems meet the highest standards of performance and reliability. As a final point, remember to document all electrical safety measures and procedures in a written plan. This plan should include information on receptacle types, ground fault circuit interrupter protection, inspection schedules, staff training, and emergency procedures. The plan should be reviewed and updated regularly to ensure that it remains current and effective. By documenting your electrical safety efforts, you can demonstrate your commitment to patient safety and reduce your liability in the event of an accident. Furthermore, the plan can serve as a valuable resource for staff, providing them with the information they need to respond effectively to electrical emergencies. In closing, electrical safety is a critical aspect of healthcare facility management. By implementing the recommendations outlined in this discussion, you can create a safer and more supportive environment for patients and staff in psychiatric wards, promoting their well-being and minimizing the risk of electrical accidents.